PK in the universe, and I am back again. And today I'm here to talk about Lunar Journey. Lunar Journey is the new Evercade Game of the Month. I haven't done an Evercade Game of the Month video in a while just because I started doing it and then I kind of got burned out of doing it, and I felt like, man, I'm just making this content just to make it. I don't want to make an Evercade Game of the Month game unless I am just really psyched and feel compelled to do it and feel like I have a unique spin and conversation to have with you guys. So that's what I'm going to do for this video. I am going to talk about Lunar Journey, but I'm also going to talk about how it brings up a much larger topic, actually, that I feel like a lot of people haven't addressed in a while, and I want to talk about this particular topic. And so first up, let's talk about Lunar Journey. Well, what is Lunar Journey? Lunar Journey, you basically play as an astronaut who comes to the moon, and you are stuck on the moon, and you have to go get these elements or whatever, and you have to get to these elements, you have to do certain things. Like, for example, you have to go get ice, you have to get water, you go to a lemonade stand, and this guy makes you lemonade, and you like put it in a battery. You know, there's a lot of thinking and puzzles, but it's not really a fighting type game. There's no violence. It's real chill. Also, at some point you dress up or whatever, you get a disguise in the game, you know, to go through certain parts of the game. It's really, really interesting, and it's a very, very short game. And originally it was a Game Boy game, and I was thinking about this Game Boy game, and I was like, man, this is really cool. I can't wait to get this on the Indie Heroes 2 collection. But then I'm like, I wonder if there's a digital option. You see, in past Evercade Game of the Month videos, I always like to tell people what the digital option was, because I understand that not everybody who is in my audience has an Evercade. So I always like to try to, help them, have an opportunity to play these games as well, even if they don't have an Evercade VS. So I go and look, and I was like, is there a digital option? So, I looked all over. Couldn't find one, actually, for once. With the other previous games, there were digital options because oftentimes the developers would sell them on itch.io. And there is no option to do that. The creator does have an itch.io page, but it actually leads to his website, and it has all the lists of games that he's made and sold. And every game on that site is sold out. They're all physical games. The only place I saw a physical game was on eBay, actually, and it was going for like $53 plus like $30 shipping and handling. And I'm like, I don't want to spend $80 for this game. I mean, it's a cool game. I don't know if it's $80 cool, but it's very cool. And if you have an Evercade VS, I highly recommend downloading this game this month. And if you are a regular Evercade owner or EXP owner, obviously, or in the future here, if you're watching this from the future, yeah, definitely get the Indie Heroes 2 collection, absolutely. So it's kind of expensive if you want to buy the original Game Boy version, and it's hard to find. So there's no real option to get it any other way, really. It's kind of interesting. This is probably one of the first full digital options, and it's on Evercade of all places. But I want to talk about how this brings up a much larger issue. This got me thinking back to something that happened a while back. Do you guys remember Super Rare Games and Strictly Limited Games? Well, they had been making some Switch physical only games. I think both of them did. It was Super Rare who did it first. They were doing like the Super Rare shorts, and then Strictly Limited, I believe, did it as well. But Super Rare got a lot of flack, if I'm not mistaken. So much to the point that they were like, okay, we'll put some of these games like 6 months later on itch.io for preservation purposes and whatnot, and that was their argument for why they did that. But the games still physically wise were on Switch. They never made it to the Switch eShop. I think so far at the time of this recording, Heaven's Machine, I believe, is the game that they do have the physical version out. The digital version is already on itch.io, but I haven't seen them do it with any other games, but I don't know if those games have been published yet. So it kind of brings up an interesting point, is how do you guys feel about, physical only games? Physical only games. I'm not a fan of physical only, and physical being the only possible way to play for me personally. Now, I know some people love to collect physical games and play physical games, but that doesn't necessarily mean they are against digital games existing. I think a lot of us take for granted the fact that, of course, if you have played an NES game, a lot of people have played the ROM first before they ever actually played it on a physical cartridge. There's so many really expensive games that you can't actually really buy for any reasonable price. So people feel comfortable emulating them, especially if that company who made the game to begin with is no longer making the game or selling the game. I think most people don't really actually want to pirate, but if there is no legal option, some people choose to do that. It's a gray area for a lot of people, obviously, so I'm not here to like pass judgment on anybody, but I think people don't think, physical games are such a big deal just because everything's been pretty much dumped, and put on the internet somewhere, or there's a legal way to play those games on current systems or even past systems, like games have been ported. So it brings up an interesting topic, is physical only games actually a good thing? Or should there be other ways to play it? And I personally think, yeah, there should be as many ways to play games as possible, whether it be physical or digital, because digital to me really is a form of preservation. It's a really important form of preservation because here's the thing about a physical game. As I talked about previously with some past Evercade carts where they just, wouldn't work, that's not a good thing. But if something's a digital, file, you can keep transferring that file again and again to different places to continue to preserve it and to continue to have it. Whereas if something's just tied to a physical cart, unfortunately, that cart could stop working. I've said in the past before, I have never been worried about Scott Pilgrim vs. the World fading out of existence because so many people prior to the physical release actually had downloaded the crap out of it or were pirating it on their computer, honestly, with the, the RPS3 emulator or whatever. I mean, it was everywhere. There was never a situation where I thought, we'll never get to play that again. I'm more worried about some old prototype NES cart that's never had its ROM dumped, that's just sitting in some collector's basement, decaying away and inevitably will stop working, that will be lost to time. I believe the folks over at, the Video Game History Foundation or whatever it is that thing in Texas, I believe they have some kind of deal with WATA, where WATA sometimes will grade prototypes or whatever, and as part of their people's contract when they sign with WATA, apparently this Video Game History Foundation has the right to basically, copy the ROM or whatever and just keep it for preservation digitally. Now, obviously, they can't release that, to the public, because of the whole contract. It's about saving those files, and that saving those files is so important for, future generations to possibly experience that. I think that's kind of a weird deal too right there because, at the end of the day, these people who own these prototypes, I mean, that's really not actually their property. It's probably the property of whatever that company is, and the person who sold it, do they even have the rights to sell it just because they had it? Maybe it was some employee or whatever who was given that, but maybe they didn't necessarily have the rights to sell it. We don't really know. They don't have the rights to the media, though. They shouldn't, at least anyways. Whoever owns that, legally, owns the copyright for that or the license to that should be able to legally distribute that, because the person who just happened to buy a prototype certainly shouldn't have the right per se. That's just my thoughts on that. But my overall opinion is, yeah, physical only is not such a good thing in this day and age because it just, it presents a different type of problem. It, presents a lack of people with legal affordable access. And I worry about that too because, what's to stop somebody who bought the Game Boy version from dumping that ROM and throwing it on the internet? And I don't think that would be a good thing considering there's an indie developer who's actively making money off that. I personally don't think that's right. But at the same time, I wish there was a digital option is what I'm saying, I guess, overall. I really enjoyed Lunar Journey. I enjoyed the journey that is Lunar Journey. I thought it was fantastic. It's a game I can't wait to play again on Indie Heroes 2. I might just play it again here before I have to switch over to the next game for the next month. So, anyways, what are your guys' thoughts? Do you guys think physical only is a good thing? Comment below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching and stay awesome in this universe. Thanks. Bye.